The galaxy was quiet, too quiet. In the far reaches of known space, stars glimmered like cold fires, distant and uncaring. Planets spun silently around them, many alive, many dead. One world burned brighter than most, a jewel of blue and green in a sea of darkness. This was Zenith, home to the Krivath Star Empire, a civilization that had ruled hundreds of systems for centuries. Its fleets were powerful, its soldiers were ruthless, its minds were sharp, yet even the greatest power can tremble. On Zenith, the sky was filled with fire. Warships fell like meteors, screaming through the atmosphere. Cities that had stood for 1,000 years were reduced to ash in moments. The ground shook as energy blasts tore through everything. Krivath's citizens ran, their hearts pounding with fear. Even the strongest generals felt a cold dread in their bones. Something they did not understand had come for them. Something fast, something unstoppable. The Krivath Empire had faced enemies before. Minor rebellions, rogue fleets, planets that had tried to resist their rule, but nothing like this. Their weapons barely scratched the attackers. Shields melted as if they were paper. And yet, no one could see the enemy. No one could strike back. The Empire had lost control, and for the first time in centuries, the Krivath people felt the taste of true terror. On one world, a young officer named Ralvan watched the city of Korith fall. Smoke rose in black clouds. Fires painted the sky red. Families ran through the streets, screaming, carrying what little they could save. Ralvan had trained for this. He had fought countless battles, but nothing had prepared him for this. The ground shook, and the air was filled with a strange hum, a sound that made the hairs on his neck stand. The world itself seemed to shiver under an invisible force. He ran, everyone ran, and behind the chaos, whispers spread. Stories of a small species living quietly at the edges of the galaxy. Humans, weak, insignificant, simple creatures with no fleets, no weapons, no reason for the Empire to care. The Krivath generals laughed at the idea. Humans, they were nothing. Yet, a strange feeling crawled under Ralvan's skin. Something about these humans lingered in the data reports. Something the Empire had not noticed. Korith fell. Entire cities vanished. The oceans boiled. Mountains crumbled. The Krivath Empire's pride cracked, piece by piece. Ralvan saw families torn apart, children left to the fire, and leaders surrendering in shame. Every loss weighed on him like a knife to his heart. He had believed in the invincibility of the Empire. He had believed in control. Now, he only felt fear, a cold, endless fear. As night fell, the sky burned with an eerie light. Ships that had once symbolized power now drifted, silent and empty, drifting into nothingness. The survivors fled to other systems, to other planets, carrying stories of destruction. Whispers of horror spread through the stars. The Krivath Empire was no longer the unstoppable force it once claimed to be. It had been broken, and yet, in the corner of every report, every sensor reading, one strange anomaly appeared again and again, a small, weak species at the edge of human space. Humans, simple, weak, insignificant humans. The Empire ignored them. No one took them seriously. But something about the signals, the way they moved, the way they survived, left a strange tension in the air. Ralvan did not know it yet, but these humans, these fragile creatures, would soon become a shadow over the Empire. And then it happened. A sensor flare, a ripple in space. Something moved, too fast, too intelligent, too precise. Ralvan stared in disbelief. Something was coming. Something the Krivath could not stop. Something unknown. The galaxy held its breath. Far from the burning worlds of the Krivath Empire, the humans lived in silence. Their colonies were small, their ships were few, their weapons were primitive by galactic standards. To anyone watching from the stars, they seemed weak, insignificant, easy to ignore, yet humans survived. They lived on frozen moons, in deserts of red dust, on planets where storms could rip cities apart. Every day was a fight. Every day was a test. Food had to be grown in harsh soil. Water had to be mined from ice. Atmospheres were toxic. And still, humans endured. They endured because they refused to give up. They endured because pain made them stronger. They endured because fear could not bend their will. Humans learned to work with what they had, to adapt, to create. Where machines failed, humans improvised. Where maps were wrong, humans explored. Where death came, humans stared it in the face and kept moving forward. The humans had built small fleets, nothing compared to the Krivath armadas. They were scattered ships, lightly armed, mostly observation vessels. But these ships were more than machines. They were extensions of the human mind. Every human pilot learned from mistakes. Every engineer improved designs. Every leader tested strategies not written in any manual. And the humans had something that Krivath did not understand: emotion. It drove them. Families, loyalty, hope, and love were not weaknesses. They were power. A human mother would fight an entire storm of predators to save her child. A soldier would stand alone against an enemy 10 times stronger because he could not leave his comrades behind. Humans thought differently. Humans felt differently. Humans survived where others would have fallen. Among these humans was Captain Ilara Voss, commander of one of the outermost human fleets. She had watched her homeworld almost die in a radiation storm. She had lost friends to cosmic storms, pirate raids, and failed experiments. Every loss had left a scar, but it had also left her sharper, smarter, and more determined. Pain had become her strength. Failure had become her teacher. Death had become her companion, not her enemy. Ilara studied the reports from her scouts. A small disturbance in deep space. Sensors detected strange movements near the edges of known systems. Nothing seemed dangerous at first. It could have been a meteor swarm or a minor alien patrol. But something felt off. Something intelligent. Something waiting. Humans did not know it yet, but the Krivov Empire, far away in its dying worlds, had noticed them too. In the middle of their panic and ruin, the alien sensors had recorded faint signals, simple, weak, almost laughable. The Krivath generals dismissed them at first. Humans, they are nothing. They cannot fight. They cannot survive in true war. But humans listened. Humans adapted. They prepared. They learned. Every challenge honed their instincts. Every hardship became a lesson in survival. And in the quiet corners of the galaxy, humans were already beginning to build something new, something hidden, something that could change everything. Ilara looked out at the stars from her command bridge. The darkness was endless. The cold was sharp, but she felt a strange thrill in her chest. Something was coming. Something unknown. Something that would test everything she had learned, and she would be ready. The humans were small, weak, forgotten by the galaxy. But the galaxy had no idea what was waiting. And then a signal blinked. Across her console, fast, precise, unmistakable. Something was moving closer. Something intelligent. Something that should not be there. Ilara did not know what it was yet, but the humans were about to meet it. Asterisk, the Krivath Empire was dying, but it still had fire. Even broken, it could strike fear across the stars. Fleet after fleet moved toward the outer edges of human space, searching for anything they could crush. The humans, scattered and fragile, had barely begun to notice the true danger. The first attack came without warning. From the darkness of space, massive warships appeared, far larger than anything humans had ever seen. Energy weapons flared, tearing through asteroid fields and empty skies. Humans scrambled, but their small ships were no match. Shields melted. Engines failed. Colonies burned. On the planet Atheron, a mining colony became a battlefield. Families ran through streets torn apart by firestorms. Children screamed. Machines exploded. The humans tried to fight back, but their weapons barely scratched the alien hulls. Pain and fear filled the air like smoke. Death was everywhere. Captain Ilara Voss watched as her fleet was overwhelmed. She could see the faces of her crew: fear, panic, and despair. She knew many would die. Many already had. But she also saw something else. The humans did not surrender. They refused. Even as their ships were torn apart, even as their colonies were reduced to ash, they fought. They adapted. They learned. Humans began to survive in ways that Krivath never expected. Pilots used the asteroid fields to hide and ambush. Engineers rerouted power from destroyed engines to weapons, firing with precision against impossible odds. Civilians built makeshift defenses, using what little they had to shield themselves. Every loss taught a lesson. Every strike against them made them smarter, faster, more relentless. Yet the Krivath laughed. To them, these humans were insects, weak creatures flailing against a storm they could never control. The generals boasted that the humans would fall in days. They called them foolish, emotional, unworthy of attention. And still, humans endured. Ilara gathered the survivors in the remains of her flagship. She looked at the maps, the sensors, the reports from the colonies. Every system was damaged, every fleet reduced, but she saw patterns the aliens had missed. The humans were small, yes, but unpredictable. They could hide, strike, and vanish. Their minds worked differently. Their fear did not paralyze them and sharpened them. Then came the signal, a subtle pulse in the dark void of space, too regular to be natural, too precise to be random. Something was moving, something intelligent, something that had been watching all along. Humans did not yet know what it was, but the Krivath had no idea. They were focused on destruction, assuming victory. They had forgotten one thing: humans survive when all else fails. Humans adapt when everything is against them. Humans do not surrender. Ilara made her decision. With what remained of her fleet, she would lead a counterattack, a small strike to test the enemy. It was dangerous. Almost certain death awaited. But if she failed, humanity would be crushed entirely. If she succeeded, even slightly, it would change everything. The humans launched. Tiny ships darted through the shadows, striking at alien supply lines, using speed and cunning instead of firepower. Explosions lit the darkness. Aliens did not understand the patterns. Humans disappeared as quickly as they came, leaving only confusion in their wake. But the Krivath were not defeated. Not yet. They began to adjust. They began to plan. And in the quiet corners of space, humans felt a new presence moving toward them, something faster, smarter, and far more dangerous than even the Krivath themselves had imagined. Ilara stared at the stars. She could feel it. The battle was far from over. The galaxy held more threats than she had ever seen. And in the distance, something waited, watching, calculating, and moving closer with every heartbeat. The humans had survived the first strike, but survival was only the beginning. The Krivath Empire rebuilt quickly. Their pride demanded it. Fleet after fleet emerged from the void, larger, faster, and more precise than before. Generals studied the humans' movements and laughed. Primitive creatures, one said, they survive by luck. They cannot fight. They cannot think like us. To the Empire, humans were toys, fragile, emotional, and weak. They had underestimated humans before, yes, but this time, they were sure the little species could be crushed in hours. Every alien ship was armed to perfection. Every weapon was calibrated. Every strategy had been tested for centuries. Nothing could fail. And yet, the humans endured. Captain Ilara Voss studied the incoming fleet from her command bridge. Her ships were battered and smaller in number. Some colonies were still burning. Many had fled. But humans do not surrender. Humans do not quit. Humans survive against impossible odds. That was their strength. Ilara's fleet moved differently than the Krivath expected. Ships scattered unpredictably, weaving through asteroid fields, vanishing into shadows. Humans combined quick thinking with instinct, adapting mid-battle in ways no machine or formula could predict. The Krivath laughed as they attacked, but every strike humans survived made them sharper. Every failed attack taught them something new. Every loss was a lesson. Humans began to exploit weaknesses that the aliens did not even know existed. They used small drones to disrupt enemy sensors. They set ambushes in areas the Krivath believed impossible to navigate. They combined raw courage with simple, effective ingenuity. And through it all, the humans felt fear. They felt pain. They lost friends. They watched their homes burn. But unlike the aliens, who relied on logic and power, humans used emotion as fuel. Fear sharpened their minds. Loss made them determined. Pain gave them focus. Humans turned suffering into strength. In a quiet corner of space, Ilara noticed something troubling. Signals flickered anomalies in the Krivath fleet. They were adjusting to the humans' unpredictability. They were learning, and humans had only begun to fight back. The aliens still mocked them. They are insects, one general said, watching reports of human ambushes. We cannot fail. But Ilara knew the truth. Humans were underestimated, and that was their advantage. No one predicted humans would think, adapt, and endure. No one expected humans to survive when death was all around them. No one imagined humans turning pain into power, fear into cunning, and humans had a secret. Hidden in the far reaches of the galaxy, beyond known space, small fleets of human-made AI vessels waited. They were silent, unobserved, and learning from every battle. The Krivath could not see them. They had no idea the humans were not alone. Ilara sent her ships on another maneuver. The humans would strike again, not for glory, but to survive. And with every daring move, the Krivath grew more frustrated. Every time humans evaded destruction, it became clear these creatures were nothing like the Empire had expected. Then, the anomaly appeared. On the outer sensors, far beyond the human fleets, something moved faster than any human ship, faster than any alien calculations, small, intelligent, precise. It flickered across the void like a shadow. Humans did not understand what it was yet. Aliens did not understand it either, but both would feel its presence soon. Alara stared into the void. Her gut told her something was coming, something that would change everything. And humans, the species the galaxy ignored, were about to meet it. The Krivath laughed, as always, and they were about to regret. It's the Krivath Empire thought they were in control. Their fleets were massive, their weapons perfect, their plans flawless. Yet every move they made against the humans failed in ways they did not understand. Patterns emerged, weaknesses they had ignored, mistakes they could not predict. And humans, small, battered, and underestimated, watched and learned. Captain Alara Voss led her fleet through the shadows of a dying star system. The humans were outnumbered. Every ship counted. Every pilot's skill mattered. But humans were not afraid. Fear had sharpened them. Loss had taught them. Pain had made them stronger. They were ready. Alara activated the hidden AI fleet. From the darkness of unknown space, hundreds of silent vessels appeared. They were smaller, faster, and smarter than any Krivath warship. They had learned from every previous human battle. They moved like extensions of human thought, reacting instantly to the chaos of war. The Krivath laughed at first. More insects, a general said. They cannot change the outcome. But laughter died quickly. Humans struck where no one expected. The AI fleet coordinated ambushes with the human ships, trapping Krivath cruisers in impossible positions. Energy weapons misfired. Shield generators overloaded. Fleets that once seemed unstoppable were torn apart. Humans did not hold back. They attacked with precision and cunning, exploiting every weakness the Krivath had ignored. Pilots risked everything, darting between explosions, using the debris of destroyed ships as cover. Engineers rerouted power mid-battle, keeping weapons alive that should have failed. Humans were everywhere at once, unpredictable and unstoppable, and they endured. Ships exploded, colonies burned, lives were lost. But every sacrifice was a lesson, every failure a step closer to victory. Humans never surrendered. Humans never stopped. Humans adapted when all seemed lost. Ralvin, the Krivath officer who had once watched his world fall, now commanded a fleet against the humans. He could not believe what he saw. The humans he had dismissed as weak, emotional, insignificant. These fragile creatures were now the hunters. Every strike the Krivath planned was anticipated, countered, and turned against them. Every plan they trusted had been broken by ingenuity, stubbornness, and raw determination. The final maneuver came. Humans lured the Krivath armada into a trap near a collapsing neutron star. Gravity tore ships apart, radiation scrambled systems, and humans used it to their advantage. The AI fleet guided the Krivath ships into the deadliest zones, while human pilots attacked with perfect timing. The galaxy watched in silence as the unstoppable empire faltered, piece by piece, before a species it had once laughed at. Alara's heart pounded, but she did not stop. She knew the cost, she knew the risk, but victory demanded courage, and humans had courage in every heartbeat. The last Krivath battleship fell. The fleet scattered. The generals were in disbelief. Their pride had been shattered, their superiority questioned. They had underestimated humans. They had laughed, and now, the galaxy knew that humans were not weak. Humans were not simple. Humans were unstoppable. Alara looked out into the void. The AI fleet hovered silently, ready to strike again if needed. Her ships bore scars. Her crew bore scars. But humanity had one. For the first time, humans had shown the galaxy what they were capable of, yet the victory felt uneasy. Something in the dark, far beyond the edges of known space, had been watching. Fast, precise, intelligent. The humans had survived the Empire, but the universe held more threats, more mysteries, and more dangers than anyone could imagine. The galaxy had seen the edge of human power, but the full force of humanity was still a secret, and the shadows were moving.